Welcome to Joe's Astrology. Today is Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. And I'm going to switch to a chart here in a second. I'm going to look at Uranus and how it affects us in 7-year cycles, specifically people that respond to the Uranian impulse. And I am definitely one of those persons. And there's multiple ways that you can respond to Uranus. I'm just going to look at some of the ways that I have responded. So I'm going to look at the chart that we have today, but it's very similar to my chart. And as always, I'll link down in the description some of the other things we have going on today. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we had a Mars-Saturn conjunction, Venus-North Node. So I'm not going to talk about that if you're new to my channel. So let's take a look at Uranus through some of the signs and houses. So here's today's chart with the moon in Scorpio, just past the full moon. And I do have a Capricorn rising. And I'm not going to go through the houses and try to explain what Uranus through the houses means for you. A lot of astrologers do that. I'm not a fan of it because it really it can be meaningless to each person because you're really it's major speculation based on because there's so many things that can occur and you really have to know what's going on in the person's life. So we have this Capricorn rising, and when I was born, Uranus was here and at 7 degrees, and I'm going to skip over the first house, and I'm going to talk about here when Uranus went through Aquarius specifically. When Uranus went through Aquarius, I went through a time of great rebellion. It's a key word for Uranus. I was a rebellious kid. I did decent in school. I never was like so rebellious that I got into like major trouble. It was a great time of friendship in my life. I spent a lot of time around my friends during that time. So we're looking at the year 2000, around the year 2000. I was in high school at that time. And you could say it's because I was in high school, but as I continue to go through the signs here, you'll see that that's just not the case. I had also during that time, I had made some big goals when I was 18. Think of Aquarius goals and objectives. I mean, I had plans to be a millionaire, or I was associated with people that were fostering that as well. It really also depended on hope and the future to get through life on a daily basis during that time. And when Uranus went through Pisces, that would have been more my second house. When Uranus went through Pisces, I went through a period of what I would call lostness. I also went through a period of higher education. I decided to go to college. And being in college, I say lostness because I did a lot of drifting as well. Even like I went to a local college, and then I went away for college for the latter half. And I also had a lot of foreign friends that were like from distant countries, and I mean seriously, like not living here in America. They were visiting, or they were immigrants, illegal immigrants, and then they eventually got deported. Like that kind of friends with foreigners. And I made a couple attempts of moving in a very Pisces way, that were sudden as well. Very suddenly, just up and getting rid of all my stuff and moving across the country, only to find myself in the extreme uh, lostness, almost homeless. During that time, I stopped watching television and went through a period of writing, a lot of alone time. And then when Uranus went through the third house in Aries, and I'm more really focused on the signs here. So as well, I'm not really sure exactly how it relates to the houses for me, but I really see it when it comes to the signs. And when Uranus went into Aries, I got into tennis. That's when I got into tennis. If you watch my channel, I talk a lot about tennis. And I committed to tennis, being learning about being a really good player. I'd already been playing for a while, but really focusing on it and coaching and teaching. And that culminated in me owning a tennis club. And that was about a 7 year period. That's the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned that. These are 7 year periods because takes Uranus roughly 7 years to go through a sign. And during this time, I spent a lot of time at tennis tournaments, being an athlete myself, training others, very Aries-like. Also, towards the latter half of that, I got more into the occult and more into very aggressive, let's call it aggressive thinking in terms of what life is. And then, but more, I really want to correlate that more to the tennis and how that relates to Aries. And then Uranus went through Taurus. And when Uranus went through Taurus, again, I made a shift and I was interested in pleasure. I realized that I sacrificed a lot of pleasure in my life. And I correlated that with making a lot of money to help me find pleasure. And I had moved, and this is where I can correlate the houses. The fourth house, my fourth house is I see fourth house cusp is in Taurus, and Uranus. As Uranus entered Taurus, I tried to move a couple times in order to achieve this. And then when it didn't work out and I couldn't figure it out, I went through a period of survival, major survival themes when it comes to money, when it comes to health and food, when it comes to housing. Definitely homeless. Been homeless a couple times in my life, but it's so uncomfortable for me that I find somewhere to go. So when I say homeless, it's not as if I'm homeless for really more than a day, because I find someone to take me in or something like that. So these themes came up with this, with Uranus moving into Taurus, and we're at the end of that. You can see here, Uranus, and I could get into the aspects to the planets as well, which I'm not going to do that in this video. And here we have about 2 more years in Taurus, and I also went home. I also moved close. I'd say I moved closer to home and really got back into a relationship with family, with my father. Was pretty much forced into this. And as Uranus moves here into Gemini, with a lot of the things I've recently started, we're talking about the fifth house and Gemini, and what I'm doing here, even with the astrology, it's very Gemini-like, and with the internet and fifth house, really enjoying expressing myself. That's what I anticipate to happen to continue to happen as Uranus goes into Gemini, and then if that would work, if that continues to be successful, as Uranus moves into my sixth house and Cancer, but specifically the sixth house, uh, these types of themes that I'm talking about become more solidified. Um, I'm speculating. Again, there's no real way to tell. Like back here, I couldn't tell you that this Pisces stuff was going to happen. I got on once. I got on a plane. My aunt does live in Italy, and during that period in Pisces, I just got on a plane and went to Italy. And she was not in a position to really be an aid for me. So I'm like basically like dropped off in Italy by myself with nothing and nobody. And this was before the internet age. We didn't have smartphones, etc. But yeah, there's no way I couldn't speculate what was going to happen then. And even though I know astrology and I can come up with some ideas, and I wasn't into astrology way back then, I still feel as though there's no way to, or my speculations are often wrong or not exactly accurate. So we will see, and if you respond to the Uranian impulse, you could do this as well. You could go around the signs, to look back at your life, and see how your life has changed every 7 years. And just to recap here, we have this 7-year period where I was focused on friends, goals and objectives, hopes and wishes. Then we had a 7-year period of lostness, higher education, and then we had a 7-year period of athleticism, entrepreneurship, intrepidness. And then we had a 7-year period of survival, beauty, focus on beauty, pleasure. And then we have the upcoming 7-year period in Gemini. And I would definitely correlate being an astrologer as a very Gemini-like career. And I think with this Taurus, just as well, with this Taurus energy in my fourth house, I'm really looking forward to this 7-year period in Cancer, because I'm sick and tired of Uranus. So I'll leave it there for now. Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy astrology, and I definitely think that I have a unique style and a unique approach that is enjoyable. So I hope you enjoy this, and have a great day.